This is just to get a little tackiness. Help it stick to the wonky surface. Just because after you pack it down, if you have some E6000 or some Terramender, just a little tiny bit, after you cinch it down that first time, it's not going to want to bump forward. I have a little plastic comb attached to my table. Above, a little garbage can attached to my table. So I really don't care about collar, you know, the keel, everything else that we've designed in here, and then how we pack and trim the head is doing way more to right size this fly, and the profile is already there. What's left of the collar that goes on here is it slims down anyway in the water. So even this, at this point, this is like putting a hollow tie or the beginning of a hollow tie bucktail. You're not beholden to what you've just done. So you can mash that down. So that was just on top, and I'm just pushing it down. And that is now spread around the hook shank. So this is the piece that we were talking about. I was actually doing this at a show, and someone was kind of scratching their head saying, how's that, you know, how's that working? Because I'll come up and over and trap it like this. What I'm doing is just making sure that I'm gripping the whole bundle. So in case there's any loose fibers down there, loose hair down there, I'm pulling that up and then pinching it so that I know I have everything. I'm also creating a crease right here. And then I'm going down and around once. And that creates 2 layers of 200 GSP, so I'm not going to cut through this. And it also, when I am going to cinch down here, because I have 2 loops going straight down through the same path, it's going to go straight down. It's not going to want to roll over to the side. Lots of hair packing is wiggling your thread, keeping tension, and then putting nice tight. You'll see, half dozen, half hitches, a couple whips, half hitch. I don't have a specific formula. You just need to keep it tight, and then really cinch that down. And when you're really, packing popper heads, it's a little different, but we're not doing that. So that is effectively a spin. And the hair is tall enough, and it's a dense enough tie to where I might put in, I'm going to put in as a little stack. And then I'll do one more after that. Since this is very much a fishing fly, this is just for a little hot spot. I'm not getting crazy with designs. I can afford to be a little sloppy and make up for it with thread tension. So I'm not going to worry about trapping a hair or two. Try not to, of course. Like right there, I'm seeing a couple, so I just run my scissors through. Come straight down, and then kind of get back for any of those hairs that you may have brought in from the previous stack. As precise and almost surgical as some of the deer hair tying can be and look, once you have enough spins of hair, stacks of hair under your belt, you can start to move a little faster and be less concerned about pieces that fall off. And at the end of the day, if you really screw up a piece, you can chop it off and redo it. And you should know that that is the case as you're tying. So I'm using that thread, these thread wraps, kind of building a dam, and then as I'm tightening it down, it's pushing the thread that's already on the shank, holding that hair back. And that's compressing everything, and it makes those thread wraps underneath tighter, so a little bit of super glue under there keeps things really secure. Kind of the same principle with the last spin. And putting something that is compressible up here and mashing it back, you're making sure that, you know, not only are you getting a little extra piece of the head in there, a little more buoyancy, but you're ensuring that all of this stuff is compressed back, which can also be done by more stacks. Again, I don't have a formula. It's just about getting the right amount of hair on the shank, and it can be done a few different ways. So after you get 2 turns around there, if you keep tension and you don't let it come around the eye of the hook, that stuff's not coming off. So it's just your job to then, without much eye towards precision, make sure it's around the hook as reasonably as possible. You're going to find out as you come back around, and I'm catching some hair right there, you're going to be able to see where it's uneven. It's not going to be, you're not going to get, 352 pieces of hair on the top and 352 pieces of hair on the bottom. And then even if you did, we're going to be chopping it up with a razor blade and putting epoxy on it. And so all of these, 3, 4, 5 whip finishes towards the end, missed that one. I'm using these to right here, about a quarter of the eye is covered. I'm using them to cinch back so that it's just packing all that stuff that's on the shank back down. And these are, I'm probably just going to snap the thread. Those last 2 after I whipped, I'm just using the thread to pull that dam I created with the whip finishes back in. And now you just sort of close your eyes and pray. Now you want to do a super close flat cut on the bottom. That right there is why I like to put a little bit of flex on all the corners of the last tie-ins. And this head is more or less a kind of a half of a teardrop. It's cloudy outside, and I had a last-minute cancellation. Those two things mean that I'm going to go fish. Yeah, and to think that current variation and my casts and so much other stuff wouldn't affect this more than all of these little adjustments would be insane. Yet, still gonna do it. if you can get it there, to have this be symmetrical is the ideal state, just so that when you're stripping and killing, the propensity to dive or dart one way or another is random, or I should say even, and that's where you can get a good, very, very quick walk the dog type action. C is for cookie. Obviously, fish don't eat flies that don't have eyes. That was way too much. Before I decide on the final height of the fly, I like to get the eyes on as like a little gauge. Not necessary. this eye. I hate putting on eyes. Why do I do it? Bob is our uncle.